Hello ladies and gentlemen, Force here, casting another game for you today, another game with Idra as well. So this time we have Idra versus Kiwikaki, Zerg versus Protoss here on Metalopolis. Take a look at the positions here. They are in cross positions. This is going to mean on Metalopolis that having these towers is going to let you see any sort of ground aggression coming from your opponent. Also, both players are going to be feeling pretty comfortable to expand. There's a semi-long distance between the bases, so going to make it a little bit more difficult for early game aggression. So quick expansions could be happening for either player. Obviously, much more possible for Idra, being that he is a Zerg player, and quick expansions are just the name of the game as Zerg anyways. But yeah, you do see a lot of Protoss players go for, starting off with that Forge Fast expands. Obviously, a little bit more difficult on a map like this because there is this whole backside that's not as easy to defend. Usually, you want somewhat of a semi-enclosed natural to be able to try that out. But again, seeing this pylon placement, we are aware that Kiwikaki going to just be starting off on one base, going to go from there. Idra, of course, we don't know what he's going for quite as of yet. We won't really figure that out until about 14 or 15 supply. So let's take a look at what he does there. Now, going to be moving out with the scout right now. Kiwikaki just about to spot his opponent. Idra knowing now that Kiwikaki isn't in this position, so doesn't really have to worry too much about that. And if he catches the direction that the probe comes from, he's actually going to be well aware of the fact that Kiwikaki is over here, because he would be coming from this direction if he were over there. So look at that, probe moving on down. So at this point, it looks like Idra is well aware of where Kiwikaki is, and I wouldn't be too surprised if he even rerouted that Overlord. We'll see what he decides to do though. Spawning pool going down. Idra was trying to move down for that expansion, but the probe, of course, managing to block that, and as such, then dropping the spawning pool. Actually not going for that extractor yet, so going to be holding off on that metabolic boost, just getting it now, but still a little bit later. If you wanted to get that early metabolic boost, you would have wanted it quite a bit earlier. So Idra trying to chase away this probe though. Do a little engagement going down. Neither player, of course, going to manage to kill the other unit because they're both going to be microwave properly. Trying to move around with that probe again, trying to deny this expansion going down as quickly as possible. Idra actually doing some nice micro there, getting a few extra shots off on that drone, and then deciding to, in fact, pull back, not drop that expansion quite yet, and going to be moving out his scouting drone there. So yeah, you can see again, Idra was fully aware based on where that probe was coming from, where Kiwikaki is. So he's going to be rerouting that Overlord, trying to get some spotting somewhere over here in this vicinity, and then finally coming out with that expansion right now, relatively earlier than you even see a lot of Zerg players do who go for that, opening spawning pool extractor. Now, of course, realize the fact that Idra was trying to go for that expansion first, but that drone, or rather that probe, blocking that off made it impossible, and as such, he just changed up his tactics, dropped that pool, and then kind of went from there. But still trying to go for that early hatchery, ended up dropping it at 17 supply. Now over here for Kiwikaki, Cybernex core is in right now. Idra got a nice drone there inside of the base. They're going to be scouting exactly what's going on. He's going to be fully aware of what his next building is, unless, of course, Kiwikaki waits until after he gets out the sentry and can kill that drone, and then he's going to drop the additional building. And actually, I wouldn't be too surprised if that's in fact what he does do. You can see keeping those resources low, in no position to drop anything yet. That sentry just about out right now, going to be chasing around that drone. Idra's hatchery just about finished. Metabolic boost just starting right now. He was actually mining with just one drone for quite some time from that Vespian guys, or from that extractor. So he's going to be attacking this drone. As soon as he kills it, going to be seeing his next building placement. I'm guessing that it's going to be a couple gateways, although, yeah, there we go. So 2 more gateways drop it down. In fact, not even waiting until Idra leaves. Just going to be dropping them down anyways. Doesn't want to delay those 2 gateways too long. Drone's not, of course, going to be able to leave at all because of this Zealot here blocking the front. It's going to be able to get a couple shots off, even if it does force itself through. And yeah, the drone is, of course, dead. So let's take a look inside of Idra's base right now. Getting that second queen up, going to be moving on down to the expansion. Is he dropping a creep tumor? Yes, he is. So again, keep in mind, Zerg players, try to get that creep tumor out relatively early. And look at this, 4 gate coming out from Kiwikaki. Kiwikaki going to be looking to be really aggressive early in the game. Going to be looking to push out and do quite a bit of damage. Also planning at some point in the near future to expand as well. Now, I don't think he's going to be expanding right away. He would have held off on that 4th gateway and instead just gone for that expansion with 3 gates. So I think he's going to be pushing out. That would be the logical step, unless, of course, he cancels that gateway. But yeah, I can't imagine that he's going to be dropping 4 gates and expanding. There's really no sense in getting that 4th gateway if you're going to be dropping that expansion really early in the game. I could be wrong, though. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Layer coming out right now for Idra. Idra just going to be working on his macro right now, droning up, working that economy, trying to get it nice and strong. There is, in fact, that 4th gate right now. Zerglings managing to push in in, getting a full scout as well as that overlord. Now, Kiwikaki did drop that overlord, but not before you get a full scout. And again, those Zerglings sneaking right on through. So a little bit of a mishap there by Kiwikaki, letting Idra get that full scout. Now, very sentry heavy, so we're going to be seeing that push come out sometime in the near future. Although, is he going to be going for that expansion? Again, I would be wholly surprised if he did. I am imagining a push is coming because, again, yeah, there we go. So finally dropping some units, and here comes that push. And look at just how sentry heavy he is. Going to be pushing out with those sentries and then getting that expansion. But again, really don't need that fourth gateway. Usually you're going to see a Protoss player go with just the 3 gates and then expand. I'm guessing that he's curbing back on the production out of these gateways and getting that expansion just because, again, Idra did scout the 4 gates, so he's probably expecting super early aggression. But Kiwikaki curbing back a little bit of that aggression, not warping in as much as he could, and instead getting that expansion. So interesting play, interesting mind games between these two players. Definitely makes sense as to what they're doing. It's pretty cool to see it in play and see it in work. So we're going to be doing a small push right now. Not going to be able to get too far in there with these 2 spine crawlers as well as these queens dropping transfuses. We got a roach coming out, a few more roaches on the way. We do also have that speed upgrade coming out for those roaches. Trying to push forward, dropping some force fields, managing to trap that queen and getting it down very quickly. A nice play there by Kiwikaki. And now Idra going to be moving forward, trying to get us around. We do have force fields that are going to come into play there. There we go, finally dropping those force fields. So having no problems dealing with that, trapping those roaches outside of the range of Kiwikaki's units. Again, force field can be so abusive if you know how to use it properly. And of course, Kiwikaki does know how to use it properly. So Idra going to be moving forward with these roaches. This is actually a little bit of a mistake. He doesn't really want to engage those because he can drop those. He does have some reinforcements coming down though as well. Going to be trying to pick off what he can, and it looks like Kiwikaki going to be retreating right now. Idra now fully aware of the fact that this expansion did in fact go up. He knows obviously at this point that Kiwikaki didn't put his whole effort into that 4 gate and instead decided to drop that expansion. Now what else do we have going on here? That speed upgrade's just about finished right now. Getting a few more drones and a 3rd expansion coming out right now for Idra. So Idra feeling comfortable, going to be dropping that 3rd expansion. Kiwikaki just barely getting away here with the Zealot. Zergling's going to be trying to move forward to pick it off. It does have 1 HP left, and there we go. Zealot does drop, finally turning around and engaging those units, dropping those 2 Zerglings pretty quickly. Over here for Kiwikaki, we got a little tech up coming here. We do have that robotics facility being dropped right now, as well as that observer. So Observer making its way out after that. Wouldn't be too surprised if we saw an Immortal or 2, simply because he does know that Idra has roaches on the board. And then possibly even teching into Colossus after that. Now a popular build, kind of a generic build for Zerg players against a Protoss player is going to be that Roach Hydra and Corruptor. So if you can get Colossus on the board, it's going to let him deal with those Roach Hydras. And then once the Corruptors come into play, it's just going to be about positioning and trying to target fire them down and take them down quickly with your Stalkers and Sentries. But yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised. And in fact, there we go. Right now, right as I mentioned it, dropping that Hydra Den. Where is it? In fact, Hydra Den is right here. So we're going to be seeing Roach Hydra from Idra, and then eventually following that up with Corruptors. Also getting that speed upgrade there for his Overlord. It's going to allow for that extra mobility, maybe even some dropping. That'd be pretty cool. Not positive quite as of yet. And there's that Robo Bay as well. So we are going to be seeing that 1 Immortal, and then we're going to be following that up with some Colossus. So going to be a very interesting play. Still just on the 4 gates, I believe. Yeah, going to be going 4 gates plus that Bay, getting those Colossus. Obviously very, very resource intensive. There we go. That first one's going to be Chrono Boost out right now. Hallucinated Phoenix is going to be moving about, doing some scouting. He wants to find out how many expansions Idra has and what kind of tech he has. Going to be moving on in here. Is he going to see that Hydra Den? That's actually very important if he manages to catch that. And yes, he does. He sees the 3rd base. He sees the Hydra Den. So right now, Kiwikaki fully aware of what's going on. Again, that Overlord Scout moving straight on through the base right there, catching that Robotics Bay as well. So Idra now knowing at this point that Colossus are on the way. And look at that, immediately responding by dropping a Spire. So going to be responding with those Corruptors, as I had mentioned. So yeah, this is kind of, I mean, this is basic PvZ right here. This is what you typically see. See Roach Hydra from the Zerg player, a response of Colossus from the Protoss player, and then a response to the Colossus by getting Corruptors from the Zerg player. So yeah, it's pretty basic stuff. Wouldn't it be too terrible? Look at that, Kiwikaki dropping this expansion right now. Got a few photon cannons there for defense as well. More than a few, actually. He's got 3 photon cannons for defense. So going to be using those to take care of some static defenses for the expansion. But wouldn't be too surprised, as I was mentioning, if we did see some blink research from Kiwikaki. That's going to, of course, let him deal with those Corruptors a little bit easier. We will see, though, we don't have the tech quite necessary at the moment. moment, he doesn't have that Twilight Council, but maybe eventually, of course, that is a possibility. Taking out very quickly those that little statue there. Of course, he doesn't like that statue. He is not a fan of the statue, so he drops the statue. Now, something to note about this photon cannon placement, it does make for better defense of the mineral line, but it also at the same time inhibits the mining just a little bit. So something to consider. It is a trade-off, better defense, but losing some of the mining time because they do have to circumvent those cannons right now. Neither player pushing out at this moment. Idra doing some scouting. I'm pretty positive that he's aware. Yes, he is. He does know about that. He does know about that expansion over there, so probably going to be looking to push out against it at some point. Look at that Roach Hydra army sitting in the middle. 7 Corruptors on the way. Very Corruptor heavy there from Idra. What do we have for upgrades? He is 1-1 at this moment. Taking a look at Kiwikaki 1-0. So wants to be getting some additional upgrades. We do have that armor coming out right now, in fact. And another forge, and there is that Twilight Council. So Twilight Council coming out, and again, Blink Stalkers probably is what we're going to be seeing. A couple hallucinations there going down on those Colossus, and that's actually a big problem for Idra because he may accidentally engage the hallucinated Colossus. I don't know why he did that so early, just because you can see they're running out of time, so by the time they actually get there, he may actually just about be dropping those right now. So the Corruptors are out at this point. Also, a few Overlords mixed in there. Not a lot of Roaches and Hydras on the ground, though. That could actually be a little bit problematic. Do we have any Proxy Pylons? We do have this right here, so going to let him warp in units right here and engage in the fight. And here we go, pushing forward with the units, moving forward with those Corruptors as well. Nice force fields going down, though. Perfect opportunity to snipe down those Corruptors. Corruptors target firing the correct Colossus. Unfortunately for Kiwikaki, they were not paying attention to those hallucinated Colossus, dropping down some additional force fields and then pushing back. Hallucinated Colossus have been dissipated at this point, so not a full engagement from either player. And something else to note too, for your own games, just because you push out doesn't mean you have to push in fully. Especially as Protons dropping force field is going to make it pretty easy for you to retreat. And look at this, Idra feeling very bold, going to be pushing out. Look at all this Corruptors, so many Corruptors. Blink Research working its way on in right now. Does he have that Chrono boosted? I would hope so. The quicker he can get that out, the better. Corruptors moving forward, taking out this one Colossus very quickly. Stalkers moving forward again. They're not going to be able to catch up until they get that Blink. Full surround going down from Idra, doing what he can. Some nice force field action. Corruptors having nothing to shoot right now, so going to be switching probably to Gateway Heavy since there are so many Corruptors. This is actually a big problem for Idra. He's vested so many resources in there. The ground forces of Idra being dropped very quickly. He does have reinforcements coming in right now, though, and actually dropping those force fields and managing to push away those units, not letting them engage right now. Again, Corruptors doing absolutely jack squat. We've got no Colossus coming on the way, so all these Corruptors are doing absolutely nothing, and this is a problem for Idra. He has put so many resources into all of these Corruptors, and we are seeing no more Colossus come out from Kiwikaki. Nice Blink Stalker Micro staying away from that damage, and this is a big problem, like I just mentioned, for Idra. We're going to be seeing him go Blink Stalker Heavy right now, and wouldn't be too surprised if we saw a counter push from Kiwikaki. Kiwikaki also been coming out with this 4th base right now. Idra still just on 3 bases right now. He really pushed into that very heavily. He put a lot of resources into that push right there. So Idra is going to be needing to look to expand, or else he's going to be in a whole heck of a lot of trouble. So great play there from Kiwikaki. He knew there was a lot of Corruptors on the board, so he cut back on that Colossus production and instead decided to push out with just heavy Blink Stalkers. Again, Blink Stalkers allow him to quite easily deal with those Corruptors. We can see this additional expansion and some nice stacked defenses. Very heavy Photon Cannon use here from Kiwikaki. Pretty interesting. You don't typically see this anymore. You used to see a lot more static defenses in Brood War, not quite as much. In StarCraft 2, it's not quite as prevalent anymore. But again, obviously Kiwikaki going back to the roots of Brood War and going to be sticking with those stacked defenses for those expansions. Here comes another push right now for Idra. Idra actually going to be scouting forward with these Corruptors, trying to see if he can spot any Colossus. Again, we still don't have a lot, just the one Colossus. Been Blink Stalker heavy, lots of gateways on the board right now. Also having the Stargate. Wouldn't be surprised if he tried to go for some Phoenix and or Void Ray. Both things are kind of really an option. Phoenixes aren't going to do that good against the Corruptors though, so I'm guessing Void Rays are his intention with this. I couldn't imagine what else he would be doing. Yeah, Phoenixes just aren't going to do very well against those armored Corruptors there. So big push going forward right in the middle for Idra. Going to be defending this expansion. Looks like he's going to be trying to move into the 4th here of Kiwikaki. If he can mop this up, Kiwikaki is going to be in a little bit of a problem. Kiwikaki now transferring down those probes, and here comes the push right now for Idra. Now hopefully Kiwikaki spots this in time. Coming down with the Proxy Pylon over here as well, trying to allow himself to warp in some units, and going to be looking to take this expansion over here. Idra trying to do what he can to expand as well, finally getting the space saturated. Here comes the push right now. Needs to be careful though. Kiwikaki moving in from the other side now. Blink Stalker is going to be a problem to deal with. Corruptor is going to be taking out this Colossus very quickly. Full surround going down, trying to do what he can to get a concave, but great blink stalker micro, keeping his stalkers alive as long as possible, blinking back the low ones that don't have a lot of shields, but a huge concave coming down right now for Idra. But it's just so many blink stalkers. Kiwikaki definitely staying in this game with a vast amount of blink stalkers. Fleet beacon dropping down. Are we going to see a mothership? That is quite the possibility. Wouldn't be entirely surprised. We'll see what happens though. So many corruptors still for Idra. Idra really expecting this Colossus, but again, Kiwikaki just staying with his blink stalkers, happy with just the micro and managing to take out those guys, blinking forward, gonna be dropping those hydras very, very quickly right now. Idra lost a lot in that engagement, and again, he just has way too many corruptors. I know I keep repeating myself, but it is a big problem because we are seeing pretty much no Colossus blinking in, warping in 11 blink stalkers, and here comes a big counter push right now for Kiwikaki, feeling bold, pretty happy with his micro here. Gonna be trying to get us around with those Zerglings, doing what he can. Stalkers do want to blink away. They need to be careful about getting that full surround, allowing those Zerglings to a little bit more damage. Some contamination or corruption going down rather on Kiwikaki's stalkers, and Idra calls the raffle. He's not too happy. Blink stalkers, what is he going to say? Are they overpowered, or is he just laughing at the ridiculousness of this heavy blink stalker push? It's definitely very unorthodox, and Idra raffles and leaves the game. So Idra not too happy with the way that turned out, understandably so. You don't really expect just mass blink stalker into the mid and late game. You obviously expect some Colossus to be in there, and again, that is why Idra did have so many corruptors, but no, Kiwikaki pulling through, just using blink stalkers with some micro, staying away from that surround, and then blinking back those low units, and that of course did allow him to win the game. So great game between these two players. Excellent play there by Kiwikaki. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the cast. As always, this has been Force from Force Strategy Gaming. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content, and keep watching and keep owning. That one Thor is going to get dropped very quickly. Moving in, magic boxing that Thor. Going to drop him almost instantly. Repairs going down, though. A little bit extra damage, but not quite enough. And now that he's got kind of this critical mass here, going to be managing to take out a lot of the base here of Juby. But Juby, look at this, going to be moving out for this push right now. Now, depending on how Idra moves in, moving in with those Speedlings, Banelings, trying to get surround. Needs to micro away those Marines, but lost a lot to those Banelings. Tank fire taking out what they can, but he did lose a lot of Marines. And these Mutalisks are going to be moving in to try to mop things up. A few more Marines pushing down right now.